The Bedwetting Guide, PTSD Edition. Having incontinence is one thing, but bedwetting is another. So honestly, good luck if you're going to be sleeping on someone else's bed tonight. But I do have a question for you. What are you opting in for during your sleepover? Training pant, diaper, pull-up? Oh wait, you probably have chosen to be that people pleaser. So, you chose to go with no protection. Let me know how that turns out for you. Hey guys, so in this video I really want to be talking about the Bedwetting Guide, PTSD edition. And I know some of you guys are probably, I don't know, maybe it's just me overthinking. I'm just like, what if people think I'm teaching people how to wet the bed? No, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just telling you about my experiences and the things I want to talk about in this video about bedwetting while having incontinence. About a little over 3 years ago, I did film a video called The Bedwetting as an Adult with Incontinence. Now, I do like that video, but I just feel like when I revisit older videos, I always try to want to make it better. So I was like, hey, let's just revisit that video, do a then versus now, because there were a few things that were just a little bit more different then as opposed to now that I thought I could just bring up in this video because I thought it'd be interesting. Before I begin this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and for now, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I can't begin to explain how much of a game changer adult diapers have been for me. All of those sleepless nights having to get out of bed every couple of hours was so draining. I just wish I had known to wear adult diapers much sooner than I had, because it would have saved me from all of those mental breakdowns, depression, fear, anxiety, and that feeling of unworthiness that I felt I was facing alone. But I was wrong. There's millions of you going through incontinence and bedwetting too, and I can't begin to explain how grateful I am for having this community by my side. You guys have made me feel human, and I could never thank you enough. So instead of showing you the first 3 wettings like I usually do on most of my try-ons, I thought I would do something a bit different. So I figured I would show you guys what my diaper looked like after I woke up. So I put the Megamax on at 10 p.m. and woke at 7 a.m. And quite a few of you guys have also asked me if I only have bladder incontinence, but I've had both bowel and bladder incontinence for the past 7 years, and last night just happened to be the night where I've had them both in the Megamax. So, let's talk bedwetting. You know that thing that happens to a couple of us where we lose control over our bladder and bowel movements? Yeah, that. There's a couple of things we could do to treat our bedwetting and incontinence. And this was something I wish I was just more open-minded about with exploring the different options with handling my bedwetting and incontinence. For instance, let's start with number 1, the denial phase. The phase where I experienced being in denial because I refused to get help. I'm quite of a stubborn person. Once I set my mind to something, it's going to take a lot to get me to change my mind. I was just so used to setting my pride aside, specifically because I just didn't want others to sense my vulnerability. But the thing is, there was no more time to be wasted while experiencing bedwetting and incontinence, and honestly, I knew I had to do something. But what? The pelvic floor muscle exercises were just a joke for me. It didn't work. I took Mirabetric for 3 days to only then flush the rest of those pills down the toilet. My body was not meant for this. So I took another route. One where I was so nervous to take because I didn't know what the right thing to do was. You know, think about it. 6 years of university, being taught to be an educator, to only then be hit with a roadblock with being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease at 19. Though school guides you to success, why doesn't school ever teach you about how to handle your health when all hell lets loose? This was the part where I was struggling, mentally, physically, and psychologically. So then what? Well, it was time to think outside the box. So let's talk phase number 2, fear and frustration. This phase was scary for me. I knew what I didn't want to treat my bedwetting and incontinence, but what was I going to do about it? While thinking about the different options you can take, down from the medications, the pelvic floor exercises, catheters, protection, change of diet, What route did I take? Well, none. And that was problem number 1. Bedwetting drove me up the wall because while trying to become mindful with not drinking or eating anything right before bed, I would always end up with a soaked mattress. But where was I going wrong? It came a point where I felt my body was giving up on me, thanks to an autoimmune disease causing my bedwetting and incontinence. It's like, how many more problems can one person possibly go through is what I kept thinking, while others also wondered the same. Moving on to phase number 3, the people pleaser. It's almost as if you have to think 3 times before you speak because you're better off telling people what they want to hear. Because think about it. Bedwetting and incontinence, well, if you're not a baby or the elderly, why are you that anomaly that falls in between those 2 ages with such problems, right? Now that's the failure of an idiot and not willing to understand that being different is what's so beautiful. So I wouldn't change a single thing if I were you, but sometimes we do need to take a step back to reevaluate the things that can potentially help, especially with your bedwetting. Almost there, but not quite yet. So let's talk phase number 4, the wake-up call. With having been in denial, fear, and being that people pleaser caused a delay with my wake-up call. And that delay happened to be wetting my bed. People always say that thing where they always say it gets worse before it gets better. It's stupid to a degree, yeah, I understand, but honestly, it is true. Like, think about it. Had it not been for the many times I've wet the bed or the many times I've wet myself out in public, I wouldn't be sitting here right now with an adult diaper on, trying to navigate my life. My lived experiences while having dealt with not so great people was my wake-up call as well. Like I've said before, it gets worse before it gets better. You learn through making mistakes, and let's just say it took me wetting many mattresses and myself out in public for me to realize I needed adult diapers. Too soon for jokes, but better late than never, right? So, we did it. The last and final stage to bedwetting. Number 5, acceptance and adaptation. Adapting to what our new norm may become with bedwetting and incontinence is hard. Trust me, I get it. We just have to accept the things out of our control and honestly just take it as a challenge. Like I've said before, it's our psychological barriers that test our boundaries. Without it, we wouldn't be equipped for the worst.
Wetting a bed and then waking up to a soaked mattress, and it gets even worse when it's not even your own bed, and then you're just sitting there like, how am I supposed to tell them I just wet their bed? Like, there's some things that I don't usually tell people. Like, I'll do something and I'll be like, oh, my bad, but that's just the one thing you can't let go of because it's gonna smell like pee, it's gonna be wet, and you need to own up to the mistake you just did. Even though it wasn't like you did it intentionally, but it's just that, why weren't you wearing protection pre? Honestly, like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm having flashbacks. It goes back 4 years ago where I wet my ex's bed and he got so upset with me to a point where he pretty much yelled at me to go and get cleaning equipment for the mattress. And I know I laugh when I'm not supposed to, but that was one moment I did not laugh because I was scared. I was so heartbroken because I was just like, I'm sorry. I remember going out in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning by myself as a lady, and I wasn't even scared being outside, but what I was scared about was the reaction I was going to get by the time I got back inside with the cleaning equipment, because what if I brought the wrong cleaning equipment, because he would have sent me back out again. And it was just serious, like, it was traumatizing for me because it was like, I felt bad for wetting a bed that wasn't even my own. Then you just pretty much live your life in fear, just not wanting to get outside, not wanting to sleep on anyone's bed but your own, and just wet your own bed because at least you're not going to give yourself a hard time over that, except cry all the time. You basically just live in fear, and living in fear, you just prevent yourself from just going out and doing your thing because you don't want to sleep on anyone's bed but your own. And then it's like, can you guys tell I've been single for like almost 4 years now? Honestly, like, I just don't want to have to explain myself to people anymore. Like, I'm tired. So watch my videos on YouTube if you want to get to know me.
Okay. Now, let's talk incontinence and social anxiety. Honestly, I get it. I understand what it's like to have social anxiety while being incontinent because you create the safe space for yourself up until a point where you've mastered social isolation. Like, think about it. When you feel so helpless prior to coming across good protection, you can't help but believe everyone's watching you when you're the one that has that wet bum out in public, right? So you might as well just be under your rock. Now, the one thing I found about social isolation and incontinence is the fact that it causes you to struggle in silence. Now, the one thing I want you to remember is why struggle in silence when we can face the psychological barriers of incontinence and disability together, right?